Very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. Mr. Wilson, it's great to have you here. Thanks for coming. I represent Colorado's 3rd Congressional District, which is basically half of the land mass of the state, and part of the district includes the western slope, which does not have any offshore production, but we're very proud of our energy production in that part of the state. We are very rich in natural resources. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, my region provides 4% of the total crude oil and 8% of the nation's natural gas reserves. One impediment I know to increasing production and lowering costs for my constituents and for Americans across the country is the need for additional pipeline infrastructure. I understand that Williams owns and operates significant assets in my district, I think to the tune of 1,800 miles of pipeline and 200 good-paying jobs. Can you talk about some of the challenges Williams faces when it comes to pipeline capacity and permitting adequate infrastructure?
Yeah, thank you, Congressman, for that question. The U.S. has increased its natural gas demand by 43% in the last 10 years. We've seen an increase in infrastructure related to natural gas of about 25%. That's not a recipe for good policy making. Our challenges and the reason why we are sort of out of balance in terms of the infrastructure and the demand comes directly from federal regulations under NEPA, comes from the Clean Water Act. And let me be clear, Williams is absolutely committed to complying with the Clean Water Act. We're absolutely committed to complying with every environmental regulation that we have. The problem is those regulations are duplicative. We get stuck in litigation over minor issues which don't change the environmental outcome of a project at all. And states that have decided that they just simply don't want more infrastructure, even though it increases their energy costs, have decided that they'll use the Clean Water Act as a weapon. So what we've asked Congress to do is to move that analysis and that permit into FERC. FERC already does a NEPA analysis. They already look at whether or not one of our projects impacts water, and they already reach conclusions that they don't substantially impact water. So why are we doing 2 different analyses of the same issue and then allowing a state on a local basis to veto an interstate pipeline project that's going to benefit both that state and states around it? So we need to reform NEPA. We need to make this process a lot faster. We need to change the judicial review standard for these projects so that we don't have courts that are sending back NEPA, finding small NEPA violations and then vacating certificates or stopping projects when the whole purpose of NEPA is disclosure. So we need to reform the Clean Water Act process, we need to reform the NEPA process, we need to reform the judicial process around those things.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson. Mr. Tarpley, you mentioned that production from the Gulf of America results in some of the lowest carbon barrels of oil. Can you explain why that is?
It's a combination of a number of things. One, we have the best technology in the United States. The companies I represent, they have put billions and billions of dollars into research and development over the years on offshore technology, and we are now seeing the fruits of that technology, and it's getting better every year. We also have the expertise. Our companies are the best in the world. They have the best and the brightest who know how to do these procedures as efficiently as possible. And as we talked about other basins around the world, as they look to develop their own basins, they come to us. They come to our people because we have the best technology and the best expertise.
So it's a function more of the technology. It's not necessarily geography specific?
That's correct, yes.
So do you know how the global offshore expansion happening in Saudi Arabia that you mentioned in your testimony, do you know how that rates in terms of carbon intensity compared with the production that's happening in the Gulf of America?
I think as we've discussed here before, in basins where U.S. companies are using modern technology, the efficiencies are similar.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Thank you very much, Chair.